If the fence rests, let's lay it down. Gonna dig deep, wave that verdict round. The defense rests, time to analyze. With the evidence, we'll unveil the crime. Justice served in an honest fight. True crime tales till the verdict's right. Solving more than just trivial quests, where sentences rule at the defense rests.
Hello. I do believe. Oh, why can I see myself on there? I don't want that. Ooh, that's nasty. I do believe the planets have not aligned. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Well, I don't think we were meant to play that stream just quietly. Given all the stuff, the technical shit we were going through before it, and then it wasn't a copyright strike. It was an email I got saying that YouTube had detected a copyright issue and had interrupted the stream. And then when I went back into my YouTube studio to work out, because normally they send you a message in your studio to say, this is what the problem is, this is the area, what are you going to do about it? And it came back with nothing. So I have no idea. I have no idea. And I probably never will. So we're up to the closing arguments this morning for Collin Griffith. So we may as well get into them. And I'm still waiting for that. No, it wasn't meant to be, though. We will redo it. We'll do it for next Tuesday. And yeah, we'll need to sort out. We need to have the same programs to be able to communicate with one another. Because I just can't read. I don't have PowerPoint, so I can't read Tan's programs when she sends it over to me. So it's useless. And I'm not that computer literate. So just can't do it. All right. So we may as well get into closing arguments. And then hopefully the next stream is the new trial. Because I've been looking for it everywhere. The Megan Boswell. I know they've picked the jury. I found that one. But I can't find day one. So whilst we're watching this, I shall keep looking. All right, queued up, ready to go. Wrong layout. Is it that one? Yeah, I don't care. I'm past caring now.
As I mentioned at the end of the day yesterday, both the state and the
defendant have
rested their cases. The attorneys will now have the opportunity, if they wish, to make a closing argument. Please remember that what the attorneys say is not evidence, nor is it your instruction on the law. However, do pay close attention to what they have to say. Their arguments are intended to aid you in understanding this case.
Oh, there's a message
Each
down
side
there.
will have equal opportunity, but the state is entitled to divide its argument between an opening and a rebuttal after the defendant has given a closing argument. Does the state wish to give a closing argument?
I do, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Ladies and gentlemen, the brutality and the carnage that Collin Griffith unloaded on his mom on September 8th of 2024 is as real as it gets. First, I'd like to thank you for not only being here, but for your attention. When you came to jury selection, you had no idea what type of case you might encounter. Would it be a petty theft, a DUI? But what you ultimately heard and sat on was a first-degree murder case with the second count of kidnapping. So to hear and see what you had to go through is not something that jurors see every day. And most certainly most people never think about or see. But you've heard and seen the evidence And later this morning into the afternoon, you will be doing what you came here to do. And that is to dispense the ultimate form of justice. Not because I'm asking you to do this or suggesting you do this, but based upon the facts and the evidence, the defendant sits there, a guilty person who stabbed his own mother in the neck and then watched her bleed out in front of him. The lady that brought him into this world here on earth, he took out of this world and this earth. But see, at the end of this, he has to watch you come back through those doors. And he has to stand and he has to listen to the verdict. And that verdict is out of my control. It's out of their control. It is 100% in your control. And I have faith and confidence based upon what you heard and saw that you will do the right thing and you will hold him accountable for the fury he unleashed on his mom. Because the cold hard facts and the reality is quite unthinkable when you really think about it. The reality of what that person did to his mom is a second-by-second nightmare for her. She left this world knowing that the person that took her out was the son that she gave everything to. When you're in the quietness and the privacy of the jury room, I want you to take a close look at that knife. And remember, each inch that knife went flying through Kathy Griffith's neck, through each part of her human anatomy that Dr. Graham described. Because the reality of it, there isn't just a defendant and a victim and this happened and that happened, but the reality of it, for what the defendants accomplished, which is exactly what he wanted to do for so long. The writing was on the wall, ladies and gentlemen. The writing was on the wall. The defendant knew what he wanted to do, and it was just a matter of time. Why? Why did he have such deep-seated hatred for his mom? The lady that was just concerned about him making it to Domino's to work his 4 o'clock shift on Sunday. That's all that she wanted. They can say whatever they want about Kathy Griffith. It's all right. I'm not afraid. You shouldn't be afraid either. Because on Sunday, September 8th, Kathy Griffith did no harm, meant no harm to her son, Collin Griffith. She had one objective only that cost her her life. And I don't know if it's sad or if it's admirable, but she knew and was willing to die and knew she would die at the hands of her son just to spend some more time with him. We heard from Detective Lacey Zenoniani that Kathy Griffith literally said she knew she would die, but as long as it meant that she could spend some more time with her son, it was worth it to her. And what thanks did Kathy Griffith get from her son? What thanks did she get? She got a foot-long butcher knife rammed into her neck. And you heard the pathway of destruction. Feeling everything through her neck, through those neck muscles, through the esophagus, through the trachea, through the cartilage, and on and on and on, as it ripped through her neck, and the shock and pain going through her body as the defendant was happy. As he followed through with what he said he would do. If nothing else, he's a man of his word. He said he would kill his mom, and he took her out. But you know what? Now he's in a court of law. Now he has to suffer whatever comes his way in the form of a verdict. And that verdict is guilty. That's guilty for what he did to his mom. As she's on the floor trying to get up, but she can't get up. She's got a gaping, open wound in her neck, compliments of her son. Thanks, Collin Griffith. Appreciate that. Kathy, who was literally dusting off his domino shoes, doing his laundry, buying him Starbucks, taking him to the movies, buying him things, getting him a phone, a computer. Now, yes, these are things that you would hope a mom would do, but not.
And then taking them all off again.
Whatever issues Kathy had, she didn't lack for love of her son.
Really?
She wasn't there to do him harm on September 8th.
No, she was doing him harm all his life.
Her motives were for Collin Griffith to return to her household by 10 a.m. Sunday. That's all she wanted. She wanted her son,
At any cost.
so she was dusting off his domino shoes and making sure that he had a clean
morning,
uniform
yeah.
to be home in time to go to work. That's all she wanted.
You missed the shit show.
The clock was ticking. Once he turned 18, she knew he was gone. He wanted nothing to do with her. He had told her flat out he wanted to kill her. He had attacked her before. He had already killed somebody in Oklahoma. And she knew what was going to happen to her. But despite that, all that she wanted was every single minute she could have with her son. Well,
Nah.
she got
No, I'm just
the last seconds of her life.
This is the second stream. Tan and I have had heaps and heaps of issues with the Random Tuesday stream that we had planned. Tan's internet went down at the last minute, and my computer wouldn't read her computer program for the presentation, and then we got a copyright and shut down. So it's just not been a good day. Never mind. So we're at closing arguments in the Griffith case. And I cannot find a single thing on Megan Boswell anywhere.
With her son, as he watched on, as she gushed blood out of her open, gaping wound. The death was not instantaneous. She bled internally. She bled externally. She was fighting to get up. You see her arm finally comes underneath the island. And there comes a certain point, ladies and gentlemen, where that last drop of blood came out of her, where she took her last breath, and she died and left this earth knowing that her son butchered her. And that's the reality of it. You take a look at that knife and you'll know what it went through, who it went through, who was holding it, what their intention was, and what they wanted to do. Operation Kill Mom accomplished. That's exactly what Collin Griffith did. There's a little PowerPoint here for some things to look at, for you to remember when you deliberate. September 8th, 2024, Kathy Griffith was murdered by Collin Griffith. That's as simple as it gets. But going back the year earlier, the first person the defendant killed before he killed Kathy Griffith, he killed that person when he shot that person 2 times with a handgun, once in the chest and once in the head. Now you'll remember the importance of that as we continue on. You'll recall when they downloaded the defendant's phone and they saw something on September 8th that Kathy texted Collin. Now, Collin Griffith didn't need a reason or an excuse to be mad at his mom. You've heard through so many witnesses, law enforcement, countless witnesses, that the defendant explicitly verbalized that he would kill his mom. Not only that, but he thought about different ways to accomplish that. And a reoccurring theme was that he would stab her. You don't have to guess what he was thinking or what he wanted to do. You heard from multiple law enforcement officers the defendant's statements about that he would kill his mom. And when they asked how, he gave a plethora of ways, including throwing her out of a car, shooting her, but stabbing her was a reoccurring theme. For whatever reason, the defendant got off on that. And you will recall that the defendant's anger towards his mom, it was already over brimming. But his anger was just intensified when on Sunday, September 8th, the last day of Kathy's life, she wrote the following to Collin. Mind you, her only intention, despite all these threats that she didn't want to have to carry through with, was to get the defendant home. That's it. But she wrote to him, Collin, the recordings of you admitting to killing, and then she wrote the person's name, and planning the murder, there are 4 different instances from my Ring camera, are all going to Bob, Susie, Amanda, and Chris at 3 p.m. today. Plus the recovered audio from Chuck's iCloud, where you told your dad you hated me and I was an evil bitch, are being sent too. Let's stop for a minute. The defendant called and thinks his mom was an evil bitch. That has just so much malice and hatred, once again, to the lady.
I found there is a thing saying that they have chosen 17 jurors. They've been chosen, but I can't find a stream anywhere. And that other bloody one, the socialite, the reason that they're only showing bits and pieces of it is because of the ASAP bloody trial. So I managed to find an audio of one of the one of the witnesses. But it's just been a shit show in there too. Yeah.
That was trying to do everything she could. I mean, God, we saw Ring videos. She's cleaning all the time. She's doing laundry. She makes sure that his house is stocked with food. She has clean clothes for him. He has his own room.
Poor
He has
Tan
his own Xbox.
worked so hard on
computers,
that
cell phone.
presentation.
She's giving him the credit card to go to Starbucks to buy sandwiches and drinks, taking him to the movies, anything and everything to make him happy. And you know what kind of thanks she got? Thanks to Collin Griffith, stand-up guy that he is. And then what did she expect from him? Did she expect for him to be remodeling the house or doing all this work? No. She wanted minimal things. She wanted respect, as any mother deserved. She wanted the defendant to pick up a damn finger and do some chores, to weed whack the backyard. Was it 10 acres of property that she wanted him to go outside in the 90-degree weather and push a lawnmower? No. It was a nice, modest backyard that she wanted the defendant
how he
to take care of
underplays
some business, like the
everything.
man he was supposed to turn into. But if it interfered, God forbid, with him playing video games
Oh, really?
or him taking his walk, then piss on his mom. That was his attitude. It's 100% his attitude. He didn't want to be bothered. She wanted him to put up a bookshelf.
I don't like this attorney.
The defendant didn't want to do it. She wanted him to clean up the room because there were a bunch of ants and cockroaches that were crawling around Collin Griffith's candy bags, but it might interfere with him getting some fresh air. So he just blew her off. Day after day, time after time, the defendant wanted to do nothing but what he wanted to do. And you know what? Life would go on if that was the worst of his ways. But he also had that hatred. So every time his mom would ask him to do something reasonable, that hatred would rim.
Reasonable?
He has told you what he thinks.
Not
of
a
his
word
mom,
I'd use for her.
that
But
she is an evil bitch. This is what he's saying about his own mom who brought him into this world, his own flesh and blood, and that's what he thinks of her.
I don't know. Some people might enjoy that, but
Kathy continues on.
not me.
My dad is sending me his recordings of you telling him how you planned my murder back in February. Audio, video, email, text, and phone records are all being sent. So we continue on with the PowerPoint. This is the last day of Kathy Griffith's life. The defendant's life would go on, but Kathy Griffith would cease to exist here on this earth. And there she is on Sunday, unsuspecting the violence that would be coming her way from her son. It should have been just another Sunday afternoon. Should she have not gone over there? Should Collin have gone somewhere else? You know, these questions really don't matter because the reality is what happened. She said there are two things that are going to happen. He's either going to come home with me,
Hello?
or he can follow in his own car.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
You'll have to put me on stage because
I have.
oh, you have. Cool.
Oh, you poor bugger. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
how
But,
I know how much work you
my-
put into that, and it's just fucking.
with my internet going
universe.
down, and then NBN's supposed to be here yesterday, and then they sent me a text like at 6 o'clock saying, sorry, too hot, haven't got enough people, can't come. I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, so I was lucky I did have that, got it on our, yeah. Did you find out why they cut us off?
No. Oh, did you get the email I sent you?
I got a text you sent me.
Showing the copyright thing. I think I emailed.
Oh, right. Okay, I'll have a look at my email.
But I've gone onto my YouTube studio and there is nothing at all. So I don't know what's going on. Normally they flag that video and tell you what your copyright infringement was and at what timestamps you've got to sort it out. But there's nothing. It's saying there's no issues at all. I don't know what they're going on about.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tell you nothing in that.
No. They shut the stream down.
Yeah, I just went and watched the end of it to see like what happened when it cut off, kind of thing. I'd never seen that before.
And what part did it end at?
It was during that video, yeah.
Yeah.
Or do you think it might have been the drugs and that?
No,
Oh,
I don't think so. I've never had it happen before, ever, like that, where it shut down the stream.
Oh, I got the
So-
same email.
So
It said here,
don't
after
call-
copyright material is no longer being streamed, streams are automatically re-enabled.
yeah, but it didn't tell me what copyright things
Yeah.
it was. So Udahef can't say hotties, but Elizabeth can say cunt cake. Is that is that what you're saying? You can't type hotties anymore in chat. You have to type it like this. Type it like this. There you go. We all know what you mean then.
We'll know what you mean. Yeah.
I'm gonna beat his ass. I'm gonna stab him. I'm gonna shoot him. I'm gonna do any of that stuff.
I really
She
don't
wanted
like
to
this.
go over there and bring him back. She didn't want to have to go drive 2.5 hours over there. It would have been real simple if the defendant just came home. But once again, that's beside the point, because the reality is, that's the way life is.
Yeah.
But she wanted to accomplish one thing: to have the defendant come home. Not to do anything. She did nothing to him. No violence, no threats, nothing. That was it. She even told her mom, one of the last conversations was when she got over there,
Haughty.
if he
Yeah, that's a good
refused to
one.
come, then she would call the police. So there's Kathy wearing the exact clothes that she changed into that she would die in. She was a big fan of coffee. The shirt she was wearing said something about.
He still hasn't told me what Udahef stands for.
Kind of like the motto, live free or die.
Well,
So
doesn't it mean who the F?
Well, that's what I thought, but the second bit that doesn't make sense.
Oh. Udahef hit you.
I just, I don't. Udahef.
Are you?
No, it's not computing.
Hit you.
With her black t-shirt and her jean shorts and her black Under Armour flip-flops.
It's got to
You
be.
gotta say it fast.
I know. I asked him a long time ago, and he said, "Nah, he was having too much fun me trying to work it out." Yeah,
Interestingly
see.
enough, if you called one of the ladies,
I'll just tell him his real name. I'll start calling him his real name.
But they said when she got out of the car that she threw her bag over her shoulder and she went up to the house, which is exactly how it appears that she carried her bag. The same bag, ladies and gentlemen, that she was holding when the defendant attacked her and stabbed her in the neck. The same bag that got blood all over it.
Oh, get what's the name on there? Who used to say that?
Pauline Hanson.
Pauline, get her on there. Please explain.
Don't like it. Don't like it.
Daddy has my social security number and address.
Have you short and curlies?
Keys and everything else that fell on the ground when the defendant attacked her. Does that sound like a lady who's attacking the defendant with their bag over their shoulder, holding their car keys and their charger? Of course not, because it didn't happen that way. And
see, if I knew my real grandfather's name, I'd be able to have a social security number in America, a green card.
Really?
Yeah.
I was having this conversation with my daughter the other day. Just now you said that.
Okay.
No, I don't. You don't have any dirt. Oh, speaking of dirt, did you view my field trip?
And into the garden.
No. I did a I was out in the field, Udahef, of my backyard, and there's some poignant questions on plants that I was asking you.
That's when Millie came out to me. He was watching your channel, and I was only listening.
Hang on one sec. There is a game on Discord that does that, Tricia.
We'd all lose that one.
And you put in your answers to the questions, and we all have to guess them. Yeah, no, I did an impromptu garden walk the other night, around my garden. and I had a couple of issues with plants. Yeah, sorry, go on. Dan?
Oh,
What were you
yeah,
going to
Millie called me and said he was watching, and Jodie's got something wrong because she's out in the garden. He said to me, I went, what?
say? No.
So I've turned it on Nia out in the garden. I said, leave her
Yeah.
alone. She's connecting snails for the blue tongue, which actually he said
Who
he
needs
shouldn't
more?
need.
No.
No, the lizard will take a long time to eat all those snails you gave me.
Right, okay. That was 10 minutes work.
Oh my God.
Yep. hmm
Kathy never returned to that house. That house that she kept immaculately clean. Kathy went off with her bag over her shoulder.
Yeah, I've got more dirt on
A
Elizabeth
stock
than you would have.
fridge, stock snacks, clean,
Absolutely.
everything out of place.
Everyone knows
Keeping a
Elizabeth.
clean, safe, loving environment for Collin. Did Kathy have issues? She did. But she's a human being. You heard about her history.
So what
She
is
had to be
this?
there.
Is this the
Would that mean she should be stabbed?
closing
knuckles beat out by
arguments
her own
or
son?
what?
Of course not. That's why he needs to be held
Oh, right.
responsible. So this fancy overhead picture. What is the importance of this? Well, now I'm going to talk a little bit about the jury instructions. I'm not going to go into a bunch of jury instructions. You're going to hear those. They're very important. They're long, but I'm going to hit you with two quick things. The first degree murder and the kidnapping.
So this is the teenager.
That stabbed his mother.
Well, she fell on a knife, yeah.
Oh, that's right. When he rang the 911 call, I remember listening to that. No, yeah, I watched some of it. Yeah.
And 12 months before that, got his father. But he's pleading self-defense in this. And they played a lot of like she's a nutbag.
Oh, okay.
Absolute nutbag. Sorry. I shoved to kill a python in my mouth.
Oh, speaking of that, I'm just going to move my picture off so I can go get some food.
And massive manipulating control freak had ring cameras in every room, including his bedroom, was on him, like harassing him 24/7.
What
He
about?
went to, anything, everything.
Oh, right, okay.
He goes to his grandmother's to get away, and she starts ringing him, her, like I'm talking every minute. And in between that, she's texting them. In between that, she's getting onto his GPS sat nav and saying, "I know where you are. I can see what you're doing. I'm selling your car if you're not here.
Oh my God.
She cut his phone contract off.
Why? What did you do? Except kill his father.
He wasn't there. He didn't come
Oh,
home.
okay.
He went to his grandmother's for a break. She was just ridiculous. And the way she spoke to her mother too. So her mother actually hired an attorney for him to help protect him.
Oh, really?
Because the mother, because he was underage, he was only 17, she owned the phone. He can't have it as an asset. So as a guardian, she has a right to access what's on that phone. But the issue is she accessed his conversations between him and his attorney, and that's privileged. And they spent a day and a half arguing whether or not they actually were entitled to see that info. She was actually entitled to see that information, A, because of the privilege, and B, because she was the one that they were talking about. And at what point is she supposed to facilitate having him be allowed to speak to his attorney? You know what I mean? So yeah, it's been a big. I believe that he's been absolutely harassed his entire life and worn down, basically. It's like battered wife syndrome, but it's called battered child
Like
syndrome.
my relationship with my mother.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sounds interesting.
Yeah. Yep. We should have a discussion debate stream about it. I think they said she was entitled. to see it as his mum, but it wasn't allowed in court because yes.
Look at this picture. This is where Collin Griffith.
So this prosecutor is making out to him to be an entitled fucking teenager that's just had his Xbox taken off him, but he hasn't.
murdered his mom.
Why did he kill his father and how?
This is where Collin Griffith
Shot him.
stabbed his mom and killed
Don't
her.
know why, but shot him in the chest and the head,
You see the entryway.
and the charges were
You see the
dropped.
carport. Now you'll recall that Miss Sally Bell, the lady getting ready for church, lived right here. Nancy Jones lived here. Nancy Jones had a more obstructive view just because of the sheer angle of it. This corner here of Susan Detman's house prevented her from actually seeing what was going on. But she did see the defendant reach out, grab Kathy, and pull her in. Now, Sally Bell had a much clearer view. Sally Bell, time is important, okay? Time is important. You guys like a good timeline, and you have a pretty good timeline. Sally Bell goes to church religiously, no pun intended. She gets ready, she leaves roughly a little before 5 o'clock. Every Sunday, her and her husband get ready, they go to church. The defendant wasn't going to church on Sunday, he was getting ready to murder his mom. So Sally Bell, she sees the defendant after Kathy comes over, and is Kathy mad? Is she happy? Of course she's not happy. That doesn't mean she's being violent, and she wasn't violent. She was moving her hands. Sally made it clear. It wasn't threatening or violent or physical. She was animated, moving her hands as she was talking. And she wanted her son to come home. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. So Sally saw and heard, and it was loud enough because she was inside
This,
looking out the front window.
hang on.
She saw the defendant grab his own mom. Remember, this isn't a stranger, which would be bad enough. He grabbed his own mom by the hair. You think she's an evil bitch.
So this defendant was requested to be Baker acted, like held against, you know what I mean, like held in a mental
Yep.
in preference to
Institution,
going
yeah.
home with his mother.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He wants to kill her. He's told people he's going to kill her. He's battered her and attacked her before on November 14th in Port Charlotte. And now he's just doing the same thing again. And his mom paid the price. But you know what? He's going to pay the price when you come back with the guilty verdict. He is going to pay the price because of your verdict. And he grabbed his mom by the hair, and she said, "Stop, stop, you're hurting me, let go." This is his mom begging and pleading for her own son to stop pulling her hair. Who does that? He does that, and he did it.
Why did he do that?
So what happens?
I can't put
Who's
the
being violent to who? I
chat
ask
up
you
on
that.
screen
Who
either,
is
Joe.
being violent to who? The mom
Pardon?
is not being violent in any way, shape, or form to her
What was
son.
that?
She is doing.
I can't put any of the chat up on
But
screen.
good old Collin Griffith
Okay.
grabs his mom and he yanks her, he pulls her, he drags her. Who cares what verb you want to use? The point of the story is that he pulled her and dragged her into the house. She didn't have a choice because her hair was being pulled and her head and her body was being dragged into the house. Why did the defendant do that? Because he was about to unleash and quench his bloodlust for his mom. He was going to accomplish what he wanted to do for whatever it was, weeks, months, a year.
What are you eating?
And his bloodlust was going to be quenched at the price and at the cost of his mom. And her dignity.
Not put my
and her
mic on
life.
while I'm eating this.
So why did he bring her inside? Well, it's quite clear why he brought her inside, to unleash additional violence on her. He wanted to isolate her. He didn't want witnesses to what he was about to do. Okay? That was roughly around 5 o'clock. Now, I want to tell you something. The 911 call was at 6:14. Okay? That is an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to tell you something. They weren't talking or hanging out for an hour and 15 minutes. Quite the contrary. This was a powder keg that was exploding.
What's your definition of violent, though? What's your definition of domestic violence? Turn the role around. What if it was the father and a daughter? Would the attitude be different?
Yeah, and I mean, exactly. DV's not just
Mhm.
actually the physical
Nope.
part of it, it's the mental part of
Nope.
it that's the worst, I feel.
And here we go. Just some of the things I was having a look at. I'll have to move us over. I'll move that over. Right, so it's domestic abuse is any incident or controlling, coercive, or threatening behaviour, violence, or abuse between people in a domestic setting. Witnessing DVs. Domestic abuse can take many shapes, and it's important to remember that not all experiences will look the same in any type of relationship, regardless of gender or sexuality, and can continue even if that relationship is ended. Inside, outside the home, on the internet, over the phone, social media, blah, blah, blah. Most cases of domestic abuse are between partners or ex-partners. However, it can happen between family members who aren't necessarily in a relationship. It can include, so this is domestic abuse can be physical, verbal, emotional, sexual, financial, or psychological, including controlling or coercive behaviour. Now, don't tell me that she did not do that. Such as stopping someone from going out alone or controlling access to someone's phone. Let me see. Did she threaten to do that? No, she didn't threaten. She did threaten, but she did cut him off as well.
Didn't she?
Yep. Physical violence, such as hitting, kicking, or punching. Online or digital abuse, controlling someone's finances. Like withholding someone's money. Maybe selling their car out from under them. Harassment and stalking. Well, she definitely harassed him. Absolutely 100% harassed him. And CCTV ring camera in your bedroom? Nasty. Nasty. At what point she's texting him saying, I can see where you are. I've got you on your GPS. I know what you're doing. Constantly. Can you imagine having that constantly over your head? I'll go back and I'll replay the CCTV footage and we'll go through this because yeah, I just yeah.
Hour and 15 minutes after he killed his mom, connect the dots, do the math. But as soon as he pulled her inside, it was just the continuation of the beginning of the end. So for kidnapping, I'm going to start with count 2.
I'm not saying
count 2.
I believe he's guilty of doing it. Absolutely. I'm just saying that he does have a self-defense defense, basically. I think his defense is valid.
This is what I have to
prove. He did do the wrong thing, absolutely.
3 elements. Collin Griffith
but he got let down by a lot of people.
Or secretly, or by threat, confined or abducted or imprisoned Catherine Griffith against her will. That's exactly what he did. He forcibly grabbed her by the hair and pulled her inside against her will. Did she enjoy that? Did she walk into that house voluntarily?
But there's also a difference between yelling at your kids like, oh, put that down, and abusing them all day and making them feel belittled and insignificant and, yeah.
When Collin dragged her inside, when, as she said in one of the videos, when he already beat her ass on a number of occasions, no, quite the contrary. He forcibly...
It wasn't about his game being taken away.
Against her will. So now Kathy knows what's going to happen. Maybe she doesn't know she's about to get killed, but she knows the violence that's about to happen. Because now the defendant has her all alone with no eyes to see, no neighbors to help, and he has her all alone. He's a lot bigger than her. He's a lot stronger than her. He weighs a lot more. He's younger than her. And she was alone. Now, this is no stranger to her. She shouldn't have had to have been afraid of her own son. But now the reality is he's dragged her in by the hair. She's begging for him to let go. But does he care? No. And he amps it up even more. He yanks her and pulls her so hard that, as we recall, in the mulch here is one of her AirPods. Boom. They go inside. She would, you know what? She never came out of that house again alive. She came out dead.
Mine too.
Dead, with no blood in her body.
I used to get welts of the buckle in the back of my legs.
Collin Griffith. This is the
But he
last time
denies
that
it
she
to
would
this
enter
day.
any place. And this is the pathway to further destruction. This is literally the trail to her death at the hands and the knife of Collin Griffith. He yanked her by the hair. She didn't stand a chance. He dragged her, pulled her, get out of the source, use whatever words you want to use, and he brought her, boom, through the living room. Her other AirPod falls out. This is the violence and the force that the defendant's doing.
Oh, no one's ever had
Not
the
only that,
earpod
she
fall
loses
out.
her AirPod case. And we know where this is headed. We know the path that this is headed.
Elizabeth and Teresa.
That house is immaculate. Susan Detman keeps an immaculate house. That is a fact. That is evidence. Susan Detman keeps an immaculate house. Kathy Griffith, her daughter, keeps an immaculate house. There's no signs of a long fight. Kathy Griffith was in no position or no desire to fight.
Really?
And
That's
the
not
defendant had all
what
the power,
the
all the
CCTV
sick,
footage
twisted
says.
power, all the strength, all the size to his
This is obviously the
short,
prosecutor.
defenseless, unarmed mom. Does that sound like a fair fight, or does that sound cowardly and violent? Well, that's what kept going on. There he is. That is the face of Collin Griffith after he murdered his mom. Those are the eyes that looked at his mom as he shoved that knife so deep in her neck that it literally came out the other side of her neck. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Collin Griffith. Collin Griffith dragged his mom over there. Collin Griffith in his
So
mind.
is this the prosecution closing
I
statement?
suppose move on to the premeditation part. I told you there were 3 elements of kidnapping. We've already hit the first one. Second one, Collin Griffith had no lawful authority to do so. Of course, he had no lawful authority to do so. You don't have lawful authority to batter somebody, to grab them by the hair against their will and yank them into a house so you can abuse them and violate them and destroy them more. Element 2 is proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And third, Collin Griffith acted with intent to inflict bodily harm upon or to terrorize Catherine Griffith or to commit or facilitate the commission of any murder. That's a lot of words, but you'll take your time when you have the jury instructions. What did Collin Griffith do? He acted with the intent to harm Kathy Griffith, to physically destroy Kathy Griffith, to terrorize Kathy Griffith, and to kill Kathy Griffith. That third element is proved every which way possible. Because of that, ladies and gentlemen, the defendant is guilty of kidnapping. So when you deliberate and when you talk about the evidence and the law, and when you discuss amongst yourselves, and when you do the analysis, I submit to you that I have proven through the evidence that the defendant is guilty of kidnapping. But only if it could end there. Only if it could end there. Life would have gone on for Kathy Griffith. But it couldn't end there because of the defendant's conscious decisions. Because of his actions, it couldn't end there. Life could have gone on, but it didn't for Catherine Griffith because of what the defendant wanted to accomplish and what he didn't stop doing until he had accomplished it. And then to figure out, dang, what do I do now? But you get to see and hear everything that happened next. So we move on to first degree murder. That, once again, these aren't abstract concepts. This is the reality. That defendant reached into the butcher block and pulled out a knife. It probably made that sound when that metal comes out of the wooden butcher block. Well, Kathy didn't have her AirPods in, so she can hear crystal clear. And that knife comes sliding out of that butcher block. And Kathy would have known at that point that what the defendant had told her, what the defendant had told law enforcement, that he would kill her and stab her, that's how it was going to end for her. So the reality is the defendant pulled the knife. Picture doesn't quite do it justice. I'm not going to stand up here and hold the knife because you're going to look at it in the privacy and solitude of the jury room, and you're going to look at that knife and you're going to see firsthand where that knife has been and who put it there.
How big a knife was it?
So Kathy gets stabbed in the neck with such force. You know the pathway. You know everything that happened. You heard from Dr.
I don't
Garrett.
remember.
Very detailed
I don't know.
about
5 inches,
his
I think.
expertise.
Oh,
How many
okay.
countless stabbing cases he's worked. Never has it been an accident or somebody falling on a knife. The force that knife took, the things that it cut through, the open, gaping wound, her bleeding out to the last drop is gone. So, back on September 8th, 2024, after Kathy struggled to get up, struggled to do whatever somebody who's just about to die tries to do, knowing that their son just ensured their death. Mind you, this was at about 5 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen, because that's when Sally Bell saw the defendant yank his mom in by the hair. 5 o'clock. Yeah, it takes an hour and 14 minutes for the defendant to call 911. Yeah, it did. You're going to hear 2 clips. One is just the very intro. It establishes the time. It establishes the first words out of the defendant's mouth. Then you're going to hear the defendant's contradictory, absurd attempt at blaming Kathy Griffith for this.
Yeah, you're right, Elizabeth. I mean, they probably did know a lot. And I think that happens all over the world, that the children's services and
Right.
police know things, and either they don't do anything about it or they don't have the
For
resources to
first
do
degree
anything
murder, I
about
have to
it.
prove 3 things. Catherine Griffith is dead. That's an understatement. Number 2, the death was caused by
How
the
could it be an
criminal act
understatement? You're either dead
of
or you're
Collin
not.
Griffith.
Mhm.
It was a homicide by Collin Griffith, stabbing his mom in the neck and watching her and letting her and being happy that she bled out and died.
Yeah,
And
Elizabeth,
3,
you're
there
right.
was a premeditated killing of Catherine Griffith. Ladies and gentlemen, when the
Yeah.
defendant dragged her inside and dragged her to the back of the house to the kitchen, when he reached for the knife, when he pulled the knife out, think about it. Any step of the way, he could have thought to himself, you know what? This is messed up. I shouldn't be doing this. I can't be doing this. Yeah, I want to kill her, but this is my mom. You know what? Damn, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to do this. He had time to reflect. But his reflection was it Collin 1 or Collin 2? We'll get to that a little later. But
Column
his
1 or
reflection
column
was, yeah,
2?
I am going
What's
to
that about?
kill, I am going to stab this evil bitch.
Don't know.
And that's not me saying it. That's the defendant's own words. He showed his intentions by his actions and by his
Trying
words
to find the
and what he said he was going to
CCTV
do. He
footage.
was going to kill that evil bitch, his own mom. And so he did. So Kathy Griffith is laid out on the floor, has taken her last breath, has bled out her last drop of blood. Catherine Griffith has been murdered by Collin Griffith. The crime is over. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder.
There they are.
Now, not to complicate things, but there's another way that I can prove first-degree murder. And I submit to you, I've proved it both ways.
Ah, so
my
it's a
burden,
case
of
of
course, to prove the crimes
schizophrenia as
beyond a
well?
reasonable doubt. But there's 2
Pardon?
different ways
Oh,
that I can prove
well,
first-degree murder.
Udahef just
Both
said he told the
end
cops
with the same
Colin 2
result, which
wouldn't
is
do it,
guilty
but
of
Colin
first-degree
1
murder.
would and did.
The other way that I'm not going to spend a lot of time on
So
is
did he
called
have a,
first-degree
what's it
felony
called?
murder.
It's
I've
called
already shown you, ladies and gentlemen, why
schizophrenia,
the
but they
defendant is
call it
guilty
a
of premeditated
personality
first-degree murder.
disorder these days.
Bipolar.
Yeah,
I
that's it.
haven't seen any mental health stuff at all. No diagnosis. They did mention oppositional defiance disorder, but that was never, like, we haven't had a psych come up and say this is what he was diagnosed with. Don't know.
And why the defendant is guilty of kidnapping. So when you go back and deliberate, and when you fill out the verdict form,
Did I go backwards?
well, it might not be easy,
No.
and nothing is ever happy about sitting on a murder trial, but you'll know that you did the right thing based upon the evidence and based upon justice. So the defendant's guilty of first-degree murder, premeditated, and kidnapping. Another way that a prosecutor can prove first-degree murder is first-degree felony murder. And I'm going to tell you this first, little insight. In order to convict the defendant of first-degree felony murder, it is not necessary for the state to prove that Collin Griffith had a premeditated design or intent to kill. When you run through the 3 elements, Catherine Griffith is dead. That's number 1. Number 2, while engaged in the commission of a kidnapping, Collin Griffith caused the death of Catherine Griffith. And 3, Collin Griffith was the person who actually killed Collin Griffith. Her own flesh and blood brutalized her. We'll go to the 911
massive.
call, probably an hour or so after he had already murdered his mom.
18, 14, 11, 2nd, September 8, 2024. 911, what's the gasoline emergency? I don't know.
Look at him standing there, all puffed up in the chest. Like, what the fuck?
Now, clip two. What I want you to notice
It
about
reminds
clip
me of
two,
someone. I'm
ladies
trying
and
to think who
gentlemen,
it is. Someone out of Game of Thrones.
An
is
ape.
that the
Mm.
911 operator
Could be that
asks a
too.
very clear, simple question. Listen, what caused the bleeding? And you're going to hear and see, and you probably remember that the defendant
fell
didn't
out of the
respond
knife.
for many, many seconds, maybe
Yeah.
6 seconds. He didn't respond. And the 911 operator said more emphatically, listen, what caused the bleeding? And then the defendant gave two diametrically opposed different explanations because he wasn't going to tell the truth about what happened. And he was certainly going to try to escape from the charges and blame his mom when he is the person that murdered his own mom. So the first thing he says is, she got into a fight. What do you mean she got into a fight? Like he's trying to distance himself from what actually happened. She got into a fight and she lunged at me with a knife and she fell on it. So that's his first explanation. He's painting a picture that his mom lunged at him with a knife, tripped, and somehow fell on the knife. That's preposterous. Not being disrespectful, but that's preposterous when you think about common sense and you think about physics and when you think about reality. That just didn't happen. The evidence is to the contrary, but that's his first statement, that she lunged at him with this knife and tripped, and she somehow falls on the knife. That didn't happen. Then the 911 operator says, where is the knife right now? And who did she get in a fight with? And then the defendant says something completely different because it's not the truth. The truth doesn't change. The truth is that the defendant stabbed his mom right in the neck, and then it ripped through and came out the other side. That's the reality of what happened. And then the defendant changes his story. He thinks he's helping himself by elaborating or trying to prove to himself what happened or prove to others. And then he changes his story. Instead of her lunging at him and falling on the knife, now he says, she came at me and we got into a fight for a long time. Then she got on top of me and fell on it. Twisted it back, whatever that means.
So listen, what caused the bleeding? Listen, what caused the bleeding? She got built and she looked at me and she fell on it. Where is the knife right now? And who did she get in a fight with? Came at me and we got to for a long time. Then we had a problem and fell on it.
Collin Griffith murdered his mom, ladies and gentlemen. This is a picture of Kathy Griffith with the person that murdered her son. This is a picture of Kathy Griffith alive and smiling and happy next to the same person that she knew was going to kill her. Yet she was willing to suffer and pay the ultimate price, that was her life, at the hands of her son in order to spend a little more time with him before she left this earth. So that person, Kathy Griffith, live, full of life, smiling and happy, turned into this person.
Life, smiling and happy?
Bleeding out on her mom's kitchen floor with her good old son.
He didn't sound like a happy person.
Watch her
No.
bleed out. And there's her Kate Spade backpack purse that was over her shoulder. Once again, you saw it over her shoulder in the video. You also heard from Nancy Jones that when Kathy went up to the house, she had her bag over her shoulder. And that bag got drenched in blood as it literally spurted out of the huge gaping hole in her neck, compliments of her son. When fire rescue shows up and law enforcement shows up, they say they can literally see through her neck. They can see into the organs in her neck.
What organs are in her neck?
Is the end result of Collin Griffith's hatred and violence towards his mom. A gaping hole from that knife.
I
And we
guess so.
saw that.
But is that an organ?
She doesn't stand a chance. She comes out of her Under Armour flip-flops. Her keys crash to the ground. Her purse crashes to the ground, falling off of her shoulder. Her charging cords fall to the ground.
Yeah, that's right. They can see her machinery.
She struggles to get up. You can see things she's grabbing onto.
Why can't we see the pictures he's showing?
Yeah, no, they showed nothing. Not even the CCTV.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And she takes her last breath. And she leaves this earth
Not one
knowing
thing.
that Collin Griffith, her own son, murdered her. I'll have a chance to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, after the defenses with a much shorter wrap up. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. And when you come back through those doors, you should come back with nothing short of pure 100% justice. And that's finding the defendant guilty as charged of both counts for what he did to his mom on September 8th, 2024.
Where do they get the kidnapping stuff from? Like, okay, he dragged her inside, but how's that kidnapping?
Held against their will.
Oh, it's a bit of a
In
reach,
the
isn't it?
commission of a felony.
Yeah.